Picture yourself trapped deep inside a cavern, ice-cold water rising up to your face, your body completely stuck, and the air tainted with toxic gases. Every second feels like an eternity, and even the simple act of breathing turns into a desperate battle for survival. What seemed at first like a controlled environment quickly spiraled out of control, launching the team into a race against time to save the life of one of their own. But how did they end up in this terrifying situation? Hello and welcome back to Agonizing. In this video, you are going to hear the true story of an expedition that began as a routine monitoring mission, but soon descended into a living nightmare. Before we dive in, just a quick note. Only around 1% of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed to the channel. So if you enjoy this content, please give it a like and subscribe. It really helps me a lot. Now, let's get into the story. On May 11th, 1996, an experienced team of cavers consisting of 11 members along with government-appointed safety specialists ventured into the Midnight Creek Cave in California. Since '94, the site had been off-limits due to dangerously high levels of hydrogen sulfide found in the water. Their mission was to monitor the toxic gas levels and assess the overall condition of the site. But what was supposed to be a supervised expedition quickly turned into a nightmare for one team member. To explore the cave's most hazardous zones more effectively, the group split into smaller teams. Richard Breisch, Colin O'Neill, Kurt Wexel, and Renee Van Vreswijk made up the team tasked with securing the rear section. They set up gas detectors to monitor hydrogen sulfide levels in the air and collected water samples to test for hazardous chemicals, especially sulfur compounds. Each member had responsibility for watching over a specific part of the cave, while the safety specialist kept a close eye on any signs of structural instability in the rock formations. At first, everything seemed to be under control. The progress through the upper sections of the route went smoothly, but on the way back, things took a terrifying turn. Richard, who was leading his team, stepped onto what looked like solid ground, but turned out to be a slippery, moss-covered rock. In a split second, he lost his footing and fell into a narrow vertical shaft, a natural chimney where water was flowing through. His torso twisted unnaturally, and his head plunged into the freezing water. The force of the fall wedged him tightly in place, with his legs pointing upward and his chest pressed against the rock walls. The icy current wrapped around him, filling his nose and mouth with freezing water. In desperation, he tilted his head back, trying to create a tiny air pocket so he could breathe. The ever-present threat of hydrogen sulfide made the situation even more terrifying. If he didn't get free soon, he would suffocate from the toxic gas. In a moment of sheer panic, Richard wondered if anyone had seen him fall. The fear of being trapped alone with no chance of rescue triggered a surge of adrenaline. He felt as if an invisible force was pressing his head underwater. Every attempt to keep his face above the surface demanded tremendous effort, and his muscles trembled from the strain. Above him, Colin O'Neill had witnessed the fall and immediately rushed to help. But in his urgency, he underestimated just how slippery the rocks were and ended up slipping himself, falling into the same shaft. His fall forced Richard even deeper into the narrow cavity, making his situation even more critical. Colin struggled to free himself and shouted for help. Renee and Kurt, hearing the cries, came running. With great effort, Renee managed to pull Colin out of the shaft, but Richard remained trapped. Every second mattered, and the danger of toxic gas buildup made the situation increasingly dire. Renee and Kurt frantically consulted their maps, trying to locate an alternative route that would lead to the lower part of the shaft. If they could find it, they might be able to push Richard up instead of accidentally pressing him down farther. While Renee and Kurt searched for this path, Colin stayed by Richard's side to try to comfort him, but Richard's condition was getting worse. His efforts to keep his head above water were becoming painfully exhausting. His body trembled uncontrollably, and his labored breathing became more and more desperate. After what felt like an eternity, Renee and Kurt found a narrow, waterlogged passage leading to the bottom of the shaft. The route was stiflingly tight, but they had no other choice. They squeezed through the narrow opening, struggling with every inch. At last, they reached the base of the shaft. From there, they could see Richard, clearly in distress. At that moment, Van arrived at the scene. Without hesitation, he sprang into action. Together with Colin, he grabbed hold of Richard's legs while Colin and Renee pushed from below. The position was extremely awkward, and the narrow walls of the shaft made every move a challenge. Richard felt the pressure from beneath and tried to help with what little strength he had left. His injured shoulder sent waves of pain through his body, but inch by inch, he began to rise. The water level dropped just enough for him to breathe a little easier. Re-energized by the small victory, his friends doubled their efforts. With one final synchronized push, Richard's chest finally cleared the shaft. Colin grabbed him firmly by the arms and pulled him onto a rocky ledge where his body collapsed like a rag doll. He lay there, violently shivering, struggling to breathe the damp air of the cave. His companions quickly gathered around to check his injuries. Although he was seriously hurt, likely with a dislocated shoulder, he was alive. Getting out of Midnight Creek Cave was still a daunting task, especially since Richard had lost his glasses. As the only one who knew the complex layout of the cave, he was the team's best hope for navigating back to the surface. Without his vision, the dim light from their carbide lamps barely helped to reveal the way. Every shadow seemed to shift, turning the already treacherous terrain into a true labyrinth. His companions stayed close to him, offering as much help as they could, but the group's navigation relied almost entirely on Richard. Step by cautious step, the team made slow progress toward the exit. When they finally emerged under the starry sky, the sight of the open night felt like a hard-won victory over the suffocating darkness of the cave. Their nightmare had finally come to an end. Looking back, it was clear that Richard's survival had only been possible thanks to the quick thinking and determination of his companions. Without their combined efforts, the outcome would likely have been tragic. Midnight Creek Cave, with its hidden dangers and unforgiving terrain, had tested every one of them in unimaginable ways. If you enjoyed this story, click on the video on your screen to discover another caving adventure that took a dark turn. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, it really helps me out a lot. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone supporting the channel, and I'll see you again very soon for another video.